All right, guys, welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm your host, Charlie McGrath. It is the 17th day of September. Man, September's flying by. Already the 17th. I'd like to welcome everybody to the program today, all the folks in chat room, all 14 of you. It's a cozy little crowd. I see Doug Owen in there. Hello, Dirty Doug. Hello, Anonymous. Hello, Buddy. Joining me tonight is Gary Hendershot, former host of the Monday night program, but he's still putting up his weekly. Gary, have you put it up this week?
Not yet, Charlie. I'm a little bit behind. I pulled a late nighter last night and just could not get to it, but I ain't forgot you. I'll get something up there before the week's out. I can assure you.
Well, I did know. I mean, obviously I knew the answer to that question. I just really wanted to put you on the spot, and so I accomplished my mission.
If you're on the spot, why would anybody want to do that? I'm such a nice guy.
You pretend to be a nice guy, and you come off as a nice guy, but I know the truth. I know the truth about you, Gary Hendershot. You're a nice guy.
Hey, I'm just an old country boy with straw for brains.
Is that what you call it, straw?
Well, sure.
What's new, Gary? Well, you know what? Let me first.
You usually lead these things off with a
no. This is
a heart thumping rant.
Nope, not doing it.
You're not going to do it. But there's so much to rant about. How can you avoid it?
Well, I'm saving it up for two reasons. One, with the during the day format, I like we've been, at least when I've been coming on, I've been trying to keep it just a lot more casual. I don't want to just harp on the news. And do the rant because I'm putting out a lot more videos. I put out one in the last 2 days. I put out a video. Tomorrow night I record the Doomcast with Dirty Doug Owen, and so we're really getting. I'm getting to the point where I'm wanting a break to where I just have a conversation about the things in a more calm manner. Now
the events of the day.
Yeah, and I'm probably getting some of that from your little news pieces because you're pretty calm when you deliver the news. If you can deliver it calm, you know what though, you're right. There is a lot of stuff out there that requires a heated tone, I guess. But the first thing I want to cover doesn't really because it's obviously the news of the week so far is another mass shooting. And
yet another distraction. Something for the gun grabbers to latch on to. They won't even discuss the fact that this guy was on. Here's yet another example of somebody who's on these crazy psychotropic drugs.
Is that confirmed now? He was on.
It pretty much looks like. Well, the fact is he lost his job apparently back in January, February time frame. He was employed I think by HP. He was probably the printer repair guy. I don't know. He was a contractor that worked for some military outfits. He was actually employed by Hewlett Packard. Most of those guys, they either tinker with servers or they fix printers or something of that nature. Apparently lost his job, was not very far from being homeless, and the guy went postal. I mean, it's like Gerald Celente has said, and I love the quote, when people have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And this guy lost it. What can I say? It's a shame it happened. I certainly make no apologies for this guy, but he went off the deep end. Chances are he couldn't afford his mood-altering substances anymore. And the most dangerous time is when somebody's coming down off of those drugs. So if he wasn't, this guy had a history of mental illness. I mean, he was hearing voices in his head. He apparently had PTSD from his experiences as a first responder during the 9/11 incident. I mean, this guy was carrying some baggage. He had some problems.
No doubt. And
you lose your job, and all of a sudden you can't afford your SSRIs anymore. The most dangerous time is when you're coming down off of that stuff, and the chances are the guy just went wacky.
Well, it was interesting because it was another case of the initial reports were 3 shooters, then 2 shooters, then they killed this guy, and then there's still a person of interest in military uniform that was seen at this, that was witnessed at the scene. But
he was doing something very suspicious. he was ducking and covering, trying to get out of the line of fire.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And
that's very suspicious, you know.
And it's a naval yard, so to see somebody in uniform there, I guess wouldn't be all that that out of place.
Wouldn't perk my attention any, but yeah, you know. The other one. Have you heard? I mean, the first reports that came out was, you know, he was armed with an AR-15. You know, they love to blame that black rifle. You know, but now it's come out all he had was a freaking shotgun. So he had, you know, Biden's favorite weapon. I suspect it was probably something a little better than the double barrel he bought for his wife. But hey,
it's such a ludicrous argument. I mean, you know, that the capacity or the style, be it a military style or have these high capacity rounds, if we just eliminate these, then so will go mass shootings. And it's the world will be a safer, more loving place if we just get rid of those nasty looking black rifles. Yeah. And here's something else about this guy. According to Thomas Hasuku, he is the CEO of The Experts, which is, in this interview, it was hard to determine, but if either this guy was about to go to work for them or started yesterday working for them. He was working on the intranet systems for the Marine Corps and the Navy, and according to him, he had a top secret clearance. Excuse me, not a top secret clearance, a secret clearance. And you're right, he's lost several jobs. In fact, he was in the Navy until 2011. But then lost his job because of criminal activity that had happened a couple years prior to that. So,
but apparently pulled an honorable discharge.
No, he didn't. He got a discharge for misconduct.
Oh, really? Because one of the reports I read was that he actually got an honorable discharge. And I was scratching my head. You know, they discharged him because he was, you know, popping off somebody's tires, and that gets you an honorable discharge, and it didn't make sense. So he did get a discharge based on misconduct, so it's less than honorable.
Yeah, well, yeah. It said the report I read was he was discharged for misconduct. If you're discharged for misconduct, you're not leaving with an honorable. Okay. It might be a general, it might be less than honorable, it might be dishonorable, but it's not going to be an honorable discharge for misconduct. So what I'm saying is, you're right when you talk about the fact that he could have just been coming off his drugs and lost it, right? Grabbed a shotgun, went down to where he was going to go to work and started killing people. If that is the case, then, you know, unfortunately, we have to chalk it up to, you have a nation of 300 million people, you're going to have some nuts. That obviously is not a good answer or something that the people that are involved in this want to think about right now, because they just lost a family member or a friend or a loved one or whatever. And certainly the loss of life is tragic. But, you know, when you stop and consider, I said this on RT last night, when I printed a list for Mother Jones, and it was every mass shooting since the year 2000. And the number came out to be, which this surprised me. This was higher than I thought it was going to be. But 321 people have been killed in mass shootings since the year 2000.
How do you define a mass shooting? More than two?
I don't know. Every one of these is more than two. Yeah, I mean, the lowest one on here is 5.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to say, you know, if you gun down 5 people, that qualifies as a mass shooting.
I think that probably one qualifies if the intent, you know, it was somebody that just grabbed a gun and walked into a mall or a school or whatever and started pulling the trigger.
Well, you know, if you're a fan of the police shows, you know, they talk about a homicide, then they talk about a double homicide, and I keep thinking, okay, anything bigger than a double homicide is a mass homicide. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I have no idea how to. I think, you know, terms like mass shooting, I think are phrased more for the press, and no to you know, spike your blood pressure than anything else. But yeah, I would think, you know, if you gun down, you know, 3-4 people, as far as I'm concerned, that's a mass shooting. You better have a damn good reason. They better be coming after you with, you know, intent to maim, mutilate, or commit mayhem if you're going to knock off that many people.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe, you know, I don't know how you define it. I guess there's probably a definition that I haven't looked up, but, you know, this senseless, random Obviously, most murders, double homicides, or whatever the case may be. It could be a mass murder, but it could be because of a drug deal gone bad and 15 people were killed. To me, that's not a mass shooting. That's just a mass murder.
Agreed.
Okay. I mean, well, here's the stats, and these ones are by their description and their nature, not in that category of just mass murder, even though they were mass murder. These would be more of the random mass shootings. And in 2000, I mean, it starts with the Wakefield Mass, where 7 people were killed, and it ends with 7 people killed in Hialeah, Florida. I don't even remember this one. 7 people killed in 2013, July. You remember this?
In Hialeah? Yeah,
Hialeah?
Doesn't ring any bells.
Hialeah, Florida, 7. Okay. So anyway, the number is 321 people. I divided that out by the years, 2000 to 2013. It comes up to 24.6 people per year. You know, and again, it's hard to talk about this and not just sound like a complete ass, because you don't want people to think that you don't care about these people, or at least you don't want it, because if it was your family or if it was somebody you knew, then it's devastating. But when we see it being used, it's also just as disgusting to me when you see it being used by the powers that be, by politicians, to turn it into some kind of a chance to affect their agenda, and in this case, gun control. That to me is just as disgusting. Here's the facts: 24 plus, let's call it 25 people killed over the last decade per year because of these so-named mass shootings. If you double that number, right, and you go to 50, you're still not quite at the number of people who are killed every year by bee stings, Gary Hendershot. And you know,
how about how many people slip in their bathtubs?
Hundreds and hundreds a year.
I think we ought to have bathtub control.
Yeah. Well, I tried to find a statistic that was relatively close, to relatively close and obscure as far as being talked about. But, bee stings double the number. Bathtub slip and falls or drownings, accidental deaths because of bathtub are in the hundreds a year. Somebody in the chat room can look. One of the 19 visitors, one of which is Karen Quintostado, another of which is Doug Owen, co-host, co-founder of Doomcast number 8 tomorrow night.
I think people would be absolutely shocked by how many people every year are accidentally killed in their bathroom just taking a shower.
You keep talking.
It's actually a very dangerous scenario. But as far as the gun control angle on this thing, I gotta believe that the Nancy Pelosi crowd is just absolutely nuts that it was not a Muslim, it was not a brown-skinned person from the Middle East, and apparently they did not use an assault rifle in this shooting. I mean, if it had been a Syrian or an Iranian, and man, if they'd used an AK or an AR, that would have given them everything they wanted. They'd have had a built-in excuse to go blow up some more brown people and take their oil, and they'd have a built-in excuse to ban those ugly weapons that they don't like. It would have been, everything that the Nancy Pelosi types wanted. They didn't get any of it. What a shame.
Well, and you know what, Gary? That's when it occurred, and they were talking a group of, a gaggle of killers. That's the first thing that popped into my head. Like, okay, here we are. Russia, Putin, just schooled Obama and this administration and this government in the whole Syrian mess. And wouldn't that be uber convenient if this was some kind of event that was driven by Syria or actual Syrians themselves? And maybe I'm just a little too conspiratorial, but that's the first thing that popped into my head. And you know what else popped into my head, which I believe this guy meets that profile, which is somebody who's messed up, who's in this case loaded up apparently with psychotropics. He's a perfect target for the FBI and their little sting operations. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's just it's hard to tell. Those of us who comment on events like this, we walk a fine line. obviously, we do not want to make excuses for this guy because, frankly, whether he was coming off his meds or what, if you believe in individual responsibility, this fellow is responsible for committing mayhem. He hurt a lot of families. There's a lot of families out there, burying family members now because of this guy.
Whoa. Did you say
sure
burying?
Don't want to make huh?
You say burying? What's that? It's like burying?
Burying. That's kind of like, putting him in a casket and putting him underground.
Burying.
I don't know what you Yankees call it, but here in the South, we call it burying them. We bury our dead.
Burying. Yeah, you're right. Burying. They certainly are burying them. There's 13 dead, including the gunman, and there's a bunch of people in the hospital. So the guy's a lunatic, and the notion that we are somehow going to be a safer, better nation if we're willing, if we give up some freedom, some personal freedom, is ludicrous. I mean, it's ludicrous.
And once again, it happened in a gun-free zone.
Yeah, it's almost like the powers that be. They use these examples, but they use them in these situations where it happens, where the gun control legislation, the gun control laws in that area is the harshest in the nation, and it's never ever mentioned that these areas are the absolute failures, and they have the most harsh gun control zones in the country. So,
did you see Brett's note? He finally came up with the bathtub deaths.
What did he say? 321.
341 bathtub-related deaths per year.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if Congress wants an issue to latch onto, I think bathtub control ought to be it.
I think bees. Monsanto.
Bees? Yeah, bees. Well, Monsanto's taking care of the bees for us.
I know. I did a video last night on this, and people were brilliantly pointing out that Monsanto, is taking care of the bees, so we won't have to worry about them.
I'll tell you, those dangerous bees, I mean, we got them on the run already, but bathtubs, man, that bathtub's got teeth, man. It's just waiting to get you.
320. What do you say? 300 what?
341 on the average. 341 bathtub-related deaths per year.
Okay,
that's a scary statistic, man.
Well,
you got to be careful when you climb into the shower. You're safer, looking down the barrel of a loaded AR.
You're 10 times safer because, you're actually 13 times safer because 321 is how many fatalities we've had in quote mass shootings since 2000. And we had 341 bathtub deaths in 1 year, on average. So it's far more dangerous to go into that bathtub than worrying about a mass shooting occurring on your watch.
You know what's going to happen now because we have made this report. There's going to be a lot of stanky people out there. It's going to get foul real quick.
You are not safe in your bathroom. That's an understatement in some cases.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, when people start hyperventilating and get all crazy about the dangers of life, and let's face it, being alive is a dangerous pursuit. Of all the things to be afraid of, a terrorist dropping an airplane on your head, or a crazed gunman shooting you as you're just minding your own business, they're really pretty low on the probability scale of what might get you. Driving your automobile to work in the morning is a much higher probability of causing you death or dismemberment than a crazed shooter with an AR.
Yeah.
And taking a shower is somewhat more dangerous. So you got to put these things in perspective. Life is a dangerous pursuit. It takes you chances.
Sometimes you get buried.
Sometimes you get buried. You got to say buried with a B-U-R.
I'm not from the South. I don't know.
Buried.
I do have to take a trip to Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
Pretty.
What the heck is in Tuscaloosa?
The future. The future's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if we have anybody from Tuscaloosa listening. Send me a message. I'll probably be down there in a couple weeks, and we can.
Don't kid yourself. He's fishing for a free lunch.
Free lunch. I want a free lunch. Doug Owen. I'm sitting here distracted because Doug Owen, founder of blacklistednews.com, co-host of Doomcast number 8 tomorrow night. Shameless plug. He put these pictures in here. Gary, did you see these?
No, I haven't seen them.
I don't even know where we got two on 12/12/72. This is the Rothschilds, members of the most popular elite family in the world, held a surrealist ball at Château de Ferrers, one of the family's gigantic mansion. While these events are usually extremely secretive, photographs of this particular ball surface on the web. In short, it is a mix of Eyes Wide Shut style. It is. That's what it reminds me of. Creepy Eyes Wide Shut style mass ball mixed with Lady Gaga pop video. It's very interesting. You can see that right now in the chat, or go to wideawakenews.com, or excuse me, blacklistednews.com, and you can see it there. We're going to be back with Gary Hendershot and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a minute. Hang tight. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, joined by Gary Hendershot. I don't know what to call him anymore.
You got to give Brett credit.
I'm gonna talk about.
Definitely participating.
Yeah, he's all over. He got
to give him credit. I mean, the guy is. This is above and beyond the Call of Duty. What he's doing for us here, giving us talking.
Speaking of Call of Duty, it turns out that the shooter was addicted to violent video games. One more thing that they're putting out there. But Brett is working hard here. He's putting all these statistics into our chat. And Brett, if you have the link for where you're getting these, put it into chat, and we'll dump it. Matter of fact, I might use it in an upcoming video. But Brett gave us the 341 people die per year in a bath-related deaths per year, which we talked about already. 90 people. I didn't know this. This is more. This is double B stings. 90 people die each year because they're killed by lightning. That's incredible. Gary, did you know the number was that high?
I had no idea. I mean, I have been.
We got to ban lightning, man. We got to ban lightning.
I've been hit by lightning. I was in my car, so it didn't barbecue me. But I mean, it's a scary thing to be hit by lightning. But you think of it as being something, really, really rare.
Well, okay, but let's look at that. It isn't rare compared to mass shootings. It's a lot more common. However, 90 deaths, 300 million people, it's pretty dang rare. It's pretty dang rare. When you say the odds are better than getting hit by lightning, the odds still suck that you're going to get hit by lightning if that's something you're looking forward to. So 90 people a year, I don't even know what percentage to put on that. Brett, if you're doing your little calculator.
Now you're going to have to calculate.
I need to know what percentage that is. 0.0000001 chance of getting hit by lightning. Another one, falling out of bed. 450 people die every year falling out of bed. And I had speculation on that during the break, Gary, but I don't know if I should say it.
Not in the family hour.
No?
We'll save that for later.
I'll leave the speculation because it really doesn't say what was happening.
I will tell you this. I'm going to get seatbelts for my bed.
Oh, you don't have them already?
I don't want to take chances. So I think I'm going to mount me a shoulder harness in my bed.
You don't have that yet?
No. Oh, you've got the new bed with shoulder harness.
We're not going to talk about that.
You probably got. Next thing you know, they're going to legislate that beds have to have airbags. Or something like that.
Again, I'm ahead of the curve.
Beds designed by committee. So you cannot fall out of your bed.
100 people a year. I'm going to move on. From the beds. 450 people a year. That is over a decade's worth of mass shootings. Fall out of their bed for one reason or other and die. 100 people every year. This seems incredible. Icicles kill 100 people a year.
Well, that won't happen to me. I'm in the South. Now you better be looking up when you're those icicles.
No, that's how they die, man.
They're out to get you, man. Them icicles are out to get you.
No, man. See, you don't look up. That's the key. You look up, it catches you right in the pupil.
We need to pass a law about them. They're icicles.
We do. Icicles, beds, bathtubs, bees, and lightning. We need fill in the blank free zones for all of them.
Definitely.
Okay, here's one. Vending machines. 13 people.
Okay, so I'm standing there with my dollar and I'm trying to get my soda pop out of the vending machine.
Yep.
What this thing is somehow going to kill me?
Yes. It is going to open up and destroy you. That's what it does. 13 people a year are killed by these vicious vending machines, and we have to bring them to a stop. I can't let the children go to the vending machines.
I can just hear the police report now. Killed by an irate vending machine. Well,
It was an
struggling
Obama
is so
supporting
tough.
vending machine. That was a Syrian loving Obama supporting vending machine.
Gotta be. And
Yeah.
probably had an AK-47 too.
That's right. Yeah, and we kid. People are dead. That's nothing to kid about. But again, at the end of the day, if you put these things into perspective, they don't happen. You know what? That's the way to look at it. If you put them into perspective, it's almost like it's such a small percentage of chance of it happening to you that it's inconceivable to even worry about it. And it's almost the same thing with terrorism. Dying in a terrorist attack is, I know for a fact, I've seen comparisons that you're more likely to be struck by lightning than you are to be killed by a terrorist. So
I think you're more likely to get eaten by a shark than hurt by terrorists. I think I saw a statistic not too long ago where sharks kill more people than terrorists.
Brett's a big part of the show today. I'm sitting here watching him, and he's explained that no. When the vending machines fall on you, it's because your candy or soda is stuck inside of them, and you rock them.
People dance with the vending machine. Sure, they dance with the vending machine trying to get their goodie, and the vending machine falls over on them. That makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
I must admit, I am guilty. I have been cheated by a vending machine and danced with that son of a gun trying to get my goodie out more than one occasion. I guess I've just been fortunate that the darn thing did not fall over and smush me.
Yeah, you are. You're really lucky. Good thing you're from the South and you're nimble.
I ain't as nimble as I once was.
We got 20 people in the chat room. If you want to join them, wideawakenews.com. Click on the Wide Awake Radio link, and it'll take you into the chat room. I'm going to put we did get Brett to drop a link in, and I'll put that in during the break of where he's pulling out these statistics from. Another one he just put in here from being killed by a dog. Okay, you're far more likely to be killed by a dog than you are to be involved in a mass shooting, because 34 people are killed every single year by dogs in this country. We don't outlaw dogs. We don't have dog-free. I guess we do have dog-free zones, but we certainly don't have legislation to dismantle a constitution of this country because people are killed by dogs, Gary Hendershot.
Well, it's like everything else. The intent of government and media of late seems to be to keep us in a constant state of fear and to promote the idea that only the government can protect you from all these scary things that, are just facts of life that you better get used to, and you better find a way to live through it.
Well, and the odds are you're going to. The massive odds are in your favor that these things of which we're talking about, including a terrorist attack, including mass shootings, they're not going to happen to you. They're not going to happen to someone.
And I can tell you, Charlie, even though it's very, very risky, and I fully understand and accept the risks, I will take a shower tonight before I go to bed. The risks be damned. Full speed ahead.
I know before you go climb into your death trap, also known as a bed, that your wife will appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you're gonna stop living. If you got to go out in public, you're going to take a shower, even though it comes with some risk. Life is risky business, man, and I can tell you, getting old is not for sissies.
Well, I'm there with you, buddy. I feel like I'm older already. It's the start of the program today.
Are you saying the show's turned into a stinker? No. I told you having me on was risky, man. You go off in a number of different directions with me. But, I still say a lot of this stuff is delusions and distractions to keep us off the economics. Because, behind the scenes, they're slowing down the big money infusion that the Fed's putting out there. What do they call it? I don't know. They're tapering. They're tapering now.
Yeah.
And everybody's scared to death that because Wall Street's not being lavished with huge amounts of money, when such a large percentage of the economy is based on bankers moving money from one pile to another, and that counts as, economic activity. when such a large percentage is based on that, if all of a sudden the bankers stop being able to move money from one pile to another, the numbers coming out of Wall Street are going to be horrible. And I think a lot of the reason they're promoting these things is to keep us distracted, keep our minds off of the economic numbers.
Well, I guess the question is, how long can it go on? There's a lot of people that do predict that going into October, it's going to be very, very interesting, I guess, is the way to put it, because we're bumping up against $16,699 billion, $396 million debt that has been stuck for over 100 days. We also have a new Fed chair that's being kicked around, and we're going to talk about that in the final segment, coming back with Gary Hendershot and more Wide Awake News Radio. I put that link in the chat for these 10 statistics, these odd statistics, statistical ways of being killed. And they're random, and we shared some of them. If you want to read the rest of them, go there. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the final segment of Wide Awake News Radio on this 17th day of September, Tuesday. Gary Hendershot is joining me. I did drop that link into the chat room if you want to check out the 10 odd ways people die. Autoerotic asphyxiation. I know Gary didn't want me to go down this road, but I'm going here because 600 people a year die from this. For those of you who don't know what that is, you can look it up, autoerotic asphyxiation.
I'm sure Wikipedia has a hell of an article on it.
I'm sure. It's basically choking yourself.
Choking yourself while you're choking your chicken.
Chicken choking kills 600 a year, it looks like here, and they don't recover. They don't come back. Tomorrow on Wide Awake News Radio, Karen Quinn Tostado is still running in her new time spot on Wednesday, 5 o'clock East Coast, 4 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Mountain, 2 o'clock West Coast time. Thursday, Eric Lovely. Friday, at this point in time, Brett, and you're going to hear this too, Friday is going to be a repeat, probably for the next couple weeks. I'm working on a couple different potential people to come in there and fill that spot. But right now, we're going to be doing repeats on there. So tomorrow night, Karen Quinn Tostado, or tomorrow afternoon, Karen Quinn Tostado, and Thursday, Eric Lovely. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, if you like, Gary, the new potential and the new was potential and now not Federal Reserve Chair. I see that Summers is gone. What's your take on that?
Well, I think we were thrown a bone. I mean, a lot of people knew this guy Summers, knew where he was coming from. We kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, okay, well, that's who they're going to stick us with, whether we like it or not. And it almost looks like they threw us a bone not taking him. But apparently there was some embarrassing material out there on Mr. Summers that caused him, on reflection, to withdraw his name from consideration. I think it was probably a good thing. But bottom line is, I think we were throwing a bone because, right now they don't care what we think on most of this stuff. They just do what they want to do. So who's the top nominee of the week?
Well, right now, Janet Yellen is the front runner.
Oh, wait a minute. I've heard that name. Where does she come from?
Her whole entire life, her whole entire existence revolves around academia or working for the government. Or excuse me, academia or working for the Federal Reserve System. That's it.
Has she ever held a job where she actually had to perform on task and earn her keep?
Nope. Not that I can find. I mean, I've looked at her past here as much as you can through Wikipedia.
So no business experience. I mean, she was never a CFO of a Fortune 500 corporation. She never actually had a responsible position where she had to perform or get axed.
I think she had a lemonade stand when she was a kid.
Okay, well, maybe that counts. I mean, it looks good on a resume anyway.
Obviously, super highly educated, and like you said, go ahead.
So we got somebody with so many degrees they're piled higher and deeper, but has no common sense.
Yeah, well, it is going to do what the status quo is. She's immersed her life in the Federal Reserve System, and currently, what is she? She's the vice chair. Wait a minute, she right now she holds a position with the Fed. Federal Reserve Vice Chair, Janet Yellen, who is thought to be the front runner to replace old Ben Bernanke. So, I mean, more the exact same, more status quo.
And while Charlie's coughing, I'll put on my tap
How many
shoes.
people die a year from hosting an internet radio show?
I was about ready to put on my tap shoes and do a little song and dance to keep folks entertained while you choke on your chicken over there. I don't know. You got a chicken bone caught in your throat there?
I don't know what happened. I'm just choking, and now I'm laughing and choking. Yeah, Janet Yellen. She's the front runner, Gary, and more than likely will be the new federal.
I mean, unless they can find some dirt on her. I mean, please, anybody out there, if you happen to have some old grainy black and white porno that this woman Yellen did.
What the hell are you talking about? Porno? I don't want to see this woman in a porno.
No, I don't want to see her, but I want something on her, so we,
Yeah,
I mean,
her clothes.
Yes, that would be preferred. But bottom line is, if we had some dirt on her and could remove her from consideration, it would be real nice if they would hire somebody who actually had lived on the economy and understand.
I think it would be nice if they
the impact that the Federal Reserve can have on average Joe, instead of one of these academians who's never actually had to work for a living.
And has spent her career in that system, in the Federal Reserve System. I mean, obviously, if we pull somebody that is Federal Reserve, I mean, you could put a Federal Reserve stamp right on her forehead. Obviously, things are not going to change. We're going to still keep amassing debt and keep becoming more beholden to the Federal Reserve, and they're going to maintain their power over the currency, maintain their power over our day-to-day lives and the economy. So until it implodes, and again, Gary, this goes back to many. By the way, I think I've recovered.
Good.
So I think so.
I can take off my tap shoes now.
You can tap all you want to, buddy. But I think I'm going to survive this broadcast. We'll see. We still have 4 minutes left, so who knows? But to think that we're going to get change is ludicrous. It's here we sit, 17 trillion sovereign debt. We're just going to keep racking it up and piling it on until, as I mentioned in a lot of videos, I believe the only way we get change is when we have a currency crisis and it all comes crashing down around our feet. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who are hurt by that. Doug and I, on last week's Doomcast, were talking about, and I think we ended it with, do we have a collapse in our future that is regional or even national in scope, but it lasts a few weeks and we start to pull up our bootstraps and get back to work, or do we end up in some kind of a collapse that is Weimar Republic and it's national and long lasting and a lot of suffering, and the end is a style of living as we know it.
If you want to know what collapse looks like, just take a look at Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we are already well into an economic collapse, but it will be controlled in such a way that the collapse is very gradual over a generation or two. There's no way they're going to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs prematurely. They can keep printing money till the cows come home. And I've told you before, my take on it is, we could keep riding this semi-dead horse for a couple more generations if they choose to let it run out that long. What would force their hand is if the Bretton Woods agreement is in serious jeopardy and they have to fire up a world war to protect Bretton Woods. And that's what this Syria, Iran, Russia, China scenario portends. I mean, we've got to be a little bit concerned about that because, frankly, from our standpoint, we would much rather have a financial collapse than World War III. I guarantee you, a world financial collapse is survivable. Yeah, it's going to hurt. There's going to be a lot of people decimated by it. But you know what? It is survivable. A world war, maybe not.
Well, it certainly looked like that's the way we were headed in a big, fast, fat hurry with Syria. And I don't think I've talked to you since all this is transpired, with Putin coming in and saving the day and cutting an agreement, and John Kerry looking like a complete and utter fool. And and the nation as a whole, right? Don't we now? I mean, we were talking, and we only have 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure I give you the last 30 seconds or so to talk about what your next news segment's going to be about. But what's your take on this? Here we go again. But let me ask you this question, and I'll kick it to you. But here we have years of you remember the talk. Assad must go. We will not acknowledge him as president. We will not acknowledge his existence as a human being. He has got to go. He's got to go. He's a walking dead. He's not going to be there. The only solution involves an Assad-free Syria. But now, I mean, is it striking you as odd? Is it striking anybody as odd that now we're dealing with him as, and in fact, in point of fact, he has to remain in power in order to facilitate any years-long deal to get rid of his chemical weapons? I mean, isn't that kind of odd to you, Gare?
Well, I think the only way you're going to get somebody like Assad to give up his chemical or biological weapons, whatever stockpiles he has, is if somebody protects the sovereignty of Syria. And I've got to believe that Russia is the honest broker in this, and they've come in and said, look, we will put you under Russia's umbrella, and we will protect you from foreign invasion if you comply and give up your weapons of mass destruction. Because right now their biggest fear is either Turkey or Israel. They're scared to death that either Turkey is going to invade them or Israel's going to invade them, and they need a counterpunch, and their counterpunch is their stockpile of biological and/or chemical weapons. They're not going to give that up unless somebody guarantees their sovereignty.
Well, I agree with that. I guess my point is, we were telling the world he had to go. He was a walking dead. Now,
because we wanted to destabilize Syria so that we could waltz through Syria into Iran, and now it doesn't look like we're going to play that. So we'll just use the direct approach.
We'll just flip the script.
Sure, we'll do a direct approach. We'll go right to Iran in the first place. That was the real target all along.
All right, real quick, what's your next news segment about?
It's going to be about how to avoid World War III.
I think you should grab that statistic and run with that, too, because that's kind of interesting. That's funny. Gary Hendershot, thanks for hanging out with me on this Tuesday afternoon, guys. Show up tomorrow, same time. Again, 2 o'clock West, 3 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock East. You will have Karen Quint Tostado, and at the same time on Thursday, Eric Lovely. Thank you to Jeff Rentz for giving Wide Awake News his time. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I hope to see